Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio. So today, we are starting a new series where we take a particular Pokemon and we ask the question, are they actually any good in the trading card game? And we look at the history of that Pokemon throughout the entirety of the Pokemon trading card game to date. And I figured that as he's my boy, or at least one of my boys, we would start off looking at Garchomp. Then again, if there is a particular Pokemon you would like to request for this series, well, that's why there's a comment section. Now, Garchomp is a Dragon Ground Pokemon, and when he made his debut in Mysterious Treasures back in August 2007, he was a colourless Pokemon because, of course, that is what Pokemon used to do for Dragon Pokemon. They also were Week 2 colourless Pokemon, so they did have a little bit of a weakness. Now, this looked like an interesting Garchomp. It had free retreat like most of them do. It was a stage 2, but honestly, ladies and gentlemen, when you go back to 2007 and around about that time you've got cards like Claydol and Uxie coming out, it really wasn't that difficult to get a stage 2. 70 for free energy wasn't terrible. It had free retreat, and rainbow scales meant that if there was a basic energy attached to Garchomp that corresponded with the defending Pokemon's weakness, you could do an extra 40 damage. It all sounded so good. Side note, it had to be a basic energy. Rainbow would not work. There was one huge problem with this particular Garchomp being viable, and it was Blissey. Because in the same Mysterious Treasure set that brought us this Garchomp, we got this Blissey. It was at the centre of a Disruption style deck which could knock out some decent damage for the time. It was so good it was actually printed as a Worlds deck in 2008 when it was the runners-up in the senior division. And unfortunately, as much as Garchomp saw a little bit of play as a bit of a rogue deck, Blissey just really kept it in check. Next up, in Majestic Dawn in May 2008, we got the Level X, which again was a colourless Pokemon, being that it was a Dragon type. Now remember that back in the day, Level X's were kind of like break evolutions. If it was in the active, you could level up that Pokemon, and it kept all of the attacks and abilities of the regular. You still had free retreat here, you only got an extra 10 HP, and you did get the opportunity to deal some extra damage with Dragon Pulse. Flip a coin when you level up, or flip 3 coins. For each head, put 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And for 0 energy, you could use Restore, searching your discard pile for any Pokemon and putting it on your bench as a basic Pokemon with up to 3 basic energy. And you can already see there's a bit of synergy here with the aforementioned Mysterious Treasures Garchomp. But again, we just had what I like to refer to at this stage as the Blissey problem. Now, in Pop 9, between March and September 2009, we got another colourless Garchomp. It was terrible. We don't need to spend much time on it, ladies and gentlemen. It was just a stage 2. It wasn't viable. It wasn't as good as the Mysterious Treasures Garchomp. It wasn't as good as the upcoming Supreme Victors Garchomp. So there was just no reason to play it. We had better Garchomps. For those wondering, the Pop Packs were little packs that you would be given when you regularly attended Pokemon League, and they had a couple of cards and an energy card. And in the 9th Pop set, you could draw this Garchomp. Fast forward to Supreme Victors. Now, I have done a top 10 history video for this set, link in the description. It came out in 2009 and it really was the Garchomp set. We did get a stage 2 Garchomp in Supreme Victors. It was pretty good. It saw a little bit of play at US Nationals. It saw a little bit of mild success. It had a fun Pokebody, Thinkability, which meant that if it was damaged by an attack, you got to choose an energy card attached to the attacking Pokemon and discard it. That was pretty good. Guard Claw was fairly decent, doing 40 for 2 energy and reducing damage the next turn by 20. And Speed Impact doing 120 for free energy was pretty good, although it did go down by 20 for every energy attached to the defending Pokemon. People combined it with the level X, and it did see a little bit of play around US Nationals. I found an old article on 6 prizes that explained a little bit more about it, which I will chuck in the description. But really, Supreme Victors was all about Garchomp C, and more importantly, Garchomp C Level X. And this was a card that literally defined the format. Now, it wasn't good in Supreme Victors. You had to wait until Heart Gold Soul Silver came out and reprinted double colorless energy. But oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, this was amazing. The Poker Power ability instantly healed all of your SP Pokemon with no downside. And for free energy, you could just snipe for 80 damage, which with stuff like Uxie and Claydol running around basically meant you got a prize every turn. With energy gain, you could even just attach an energy gain double colorless and get it going in a single turn. Now, I've talked about Garchomp in a couple of videos lately, like my History of SP video, which I will put a link in the description. When I say it defined the format, I mean it literally defined the format. People would talk about the Garchomp wars, people would play cards like Dragonite and Ambipom just to counter Garchomp, and entire games for a couple of years really came down to whether you could win the Garchomp war. And of course, let's not forget that Yuta Komatsuda went and won the World Championships with his Luxchomp of the Spirit deck in 2010. Although this was the only time it did win the World Championships. After that, we did actually see a pretty good Garchomp in Dragons Exalted, which came out in August 2012. And Dragons Exalted was the set that brought us Dragon type in the Pokemon trading card game for the very first time. So this wasn't a Dragon Pokemon that had to be colorless, this was a Dragon Pokemon. And actually, in Dragons Exalted, we got 2 Garchomp. But unlike in Supreme Victors, it wasn't one good, one amazing. It was one utterly terrible. Yeah, we're not going to spend any time on that. It was rubbish. And one that was really quite good. It saw quite a bit of play for quite a while. It was one of the most hyped cards coming out of Dragons Exalted. It was a deck that was discussed a lot, and it did see some success. It won a bunch of tournaments, but it didn't see that much success at the really high level. 60 damage for 1 energy and discarding a special energy card was pretty good. It did have a retreat cost, unlike most of the good Garchomps, which was slightly upsetting, but it also had this Gabite, which allowed you to search for a dragon Pokemon and really made the whole deck work so much more smoothly. Because what you could essentially do was get all your Gibbles down, you find 1 Gabite and then search for the second Gabite to search for the third Gabite, and then by turn 3 you basically had 4 Garchomps out. It was really quite fun. Now, this was reprinted as a secret rare in Plasma Freeze in December 2012, and it was also reprinted as part of the largely reprint set Legendary Treasures in November 2013, but Legendary Treasures gave us this Gabite rather than reprinting the good one, so that Garchomp deck was gone. In April 2014, we got our first Garchomp EX, and there's not really very much to say about this, ladies and gentlemen, other than the fact that it's terrible. It's just not a good attacking Pokemon. 2 energy for a chance at 60, 3 energy for 120, and discarded energy. It just wasn't good. We had so many better options. And the last good Garchomp that came out was in February 2016 in Breakpoint, and this Garchomp is still legal today. It's also the very first and only fighting Garchomp we've had so far, owing to the ground typing in the video game, and for a while this was a pretty good rogue deck. For a single energy, it had a pretty good attack, which did 60 damage and attached an energy card from your discard to one of your Pokemon, but it said energy, so you could use it to accelerate strong energy or double colorless energy. Then for 2 energy, you could do 160 to a Pokemon EX. With 1 strong energy, that was 180, and don't forget you could use the first attack to accelerate it, and that was enough to KO most EXs in the format. It was a really, really fun deck. get. You could combine it with Bursting Balloon for a bit of extra damage. People would use Talonflame to help it set up, but here's the problem. GXs came out. And now in the Pokemon trading card game, ladies and gentlemen, we have GXs, and Garchomp does 80 for 2 energy, and it's just not powerful enough. Field Blower also came out to hurt Bursting Balloon, which means we are stuck at the moment without a good Garchomp. We did get an EX and a Mega EX in November 2016, both of which are Dragon type, but annoyingly, ladies and gentlemen, they're both absolutely terrible. Way too expensive, and just neither attack is actually good, unfortunately. It makes me sad, ladies and gentlemen, but these are not good Garchomps. Even the Mega does 180, but for 4 energy, and it does damage to itself equal to damage already on itself. They're just too slow, not good enough. So at the moment, Garchomp is not a great Pokemon in the trading card game. Was it ever any good? Oh my goodness, yes. Because as much as we've had cards like this one from Dragons Exalted and the EXs, we had the fun little rogue deck from Supreme Victors. We had the one from Breakpoint. We had the really quite good one from Dragons Exalted, and then we had Garchomp C Level X that literally defined the format, was one of the biggest, maybe the biggest Pokemon in a 2-year stretch. For that reason, was Garchomp ever any good in the Pokemon? Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, yes! So, if you've got a Pokemon you'd like me to look at next, that's what the comment section is there for. Go nuts, be nice. Tell me if you want to see more of these kind of videos. I need feedback like that. When I do these new kind of videos, I want to know if people are digging them. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to get some live action, if you want to support the channel, you can find me at patreon.com/PTCGRadio, get some bonus pods, etc. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.